Getting crazy now. How's everybody doing? You guys are so close. My name is Todd EDC. I run Indicate Media. We are a digital communications and public relations firm. We do the typical public relations stuff. We do product launches, we do corporate launches, we do media, we do messaging. You name it, as a public relations firm, we do it. We technically tend to fall working with the technology companies. We've worked with many Israeli companies over the years. Several clients on the roster are Israeli, and we have an affinity for Israel, so we actually rather enjoy it. Today I want to do a couple things over the next 20 minutes. I want to give a quick definition of storytelling, because that's what I'm here to talk about today. I want to take a quick look at the history of storytelling. I want to show a master clip of a storyteller. I want to talk about digital storytelling, and I'm going to end with some tips for your presentations that you have to give 90 seconds. I believe it's on Wednesday night, right? So let's jump right in. So what is storytelling? This is a question I've been asking myself for years. And one of the differentiators I think Indicate Media has is we believe that we're master storytellers. And we spend a lot of time thinking about what is the best way to tell a story. Now, storytelling can be explained in many different ways, and storytelling is actually utilized by many different types of people, right? But when I knew I was going to come here, I went to the web and I tried to find one definition of storytelling for you. And I found that there's a National Association of Storytelling. And I thought, awesome. If I can find the National Association of Storytelling, they'll be able to define it, and my job here will be easy. So the National Association of Storytelling defines storytelling as a specific structure of narrative with a specific style and set of characters, and which includes a sense of completeness. And I read that and I thought, what the heck does that mean? A specific structure of narrative with a specific style and set of characters, and which includes a sense of completeness. And listen, I hope the National Storytelling Association tells better stories than they write definitions, because this doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to tell you guys today what storytelling is. Storytelling is about you. Storytelling is about you. Storytelling is about me, and storytelling is about the way we connect. Storytelling is about the connecting and sharing of information. Storytelling is used to define wisdoms, beliefs, and values. One only needs to look at the lady in the rocking chair who's telling a story to the kids, or the kids telling ghost stories around a campfire, or the elderly gentleman telling stories to his tribe, right? Storytelling is used literally to explain how things are, why they are, and our role and purpose in things. Storytelling is very important. We also know cavemen used to tell stories in front of a fire. Tribal men would tell their stories to advance their societies. We know that religious storytelling is still very popular to this day. Now, the first lesson for you guys today is very important. You may be good entrepreneurs. You may have a good idea. But at some point, if you're not able to sell that idea, that story will stall. And entrepreneurs need to learn how to sell their idea. They need to be able to emotionally connect with their audience through the story that you tell, whether it's in Hebrew or it's in English. Now, there's many types of stories out there in the world. For you to understand where I'm going with all this, you need to try and understand the historical connection now that I'm going to make between entrepreneurs and the way that you tell stories. It doesn't matter if you're American, it doesn't matter if you're Israeli. To perfect your own stories, the best entrepreneurs look at history and try and draw parallels from storytellers of past history to the way that you approach the way that you're going to tell your story and sell your company. Now, many, many different types of stories. There's myths, there's legends, there's fairy tales, there's epic stories, there's hero adventures, there's ghost stories, and the list goes on and on. And there's all types of people who tell stories, right? There's writers, there's entrepreneurs, right? There's musicians, there's even comedians who tell stories. When you think about it, great jokes contain the elements of a strong story. It reminds me of an Israeli client of mine who recently told me a joke about the Israeli entrepreneur who was in New York for his first time, young entrepreneur, right? And he's never been to New York before and done meetings, so he didn't understand that the subway is the best way to get around, right? So he rents a car, and he's driving around to all these meetings, and he's trying to park, and he's dealing with parking, and what a pain in the butt. And he gets to that very last meeting of the day, right? And that's the big meeting. That's the money meeting. It's the VC meeting. And he cannot find a place to park. He's driving around Midtown right here and doesn't know what to do. He knows if he misses this meeting, he's screwed. But if he gets to this meeting, his life could be very good. And he just can't find a place to park. And he finally looks up and he's like, God, please help me. I need to find a place to park immediately. And God, if you help me, I promise I will do a better job of keeping kosher and I won't eat bacon. And I will do a better job of being on time, which we know is an issue. And I will be a better family man and a better father. And right as he's praying to God, he looks up and a car pulls right out in front of him. And he pulls into the spot. And as he pulls into the spot, he looks up and he says, never mind all that, God, I just found the spot. It's storytelling, right? Storytelling is actually one of the many things, this is an interesting point, one of the many things that literally bind and define our humanity. Storytelling literally binds and defines our humanity. Now, this is my dog, Bruce. I grew up with Bruce. One of the best things about Bruce and I when I was growing up is Bruce could not tell the story of an adolescent boy to my mom, right? Bruce couldn't talk. And that was great, because if Bruce could talk and tell the stories of my life growing up, I don't even know if I'd be here today, right? Storytelling is one of the greatest gifts of humankind. It's important. And for centuries, we have followed the works of many great storytellers, and it's important for you, literally, as entrepreneurs, to study these great works, and like I said, draw parallels. Now, for me personally, one great storyteller sticks out above the rest. You can probably guess who it is if you think about it. For me, Shakespeare was the master storyteller. He was the master of tragedy, of drama, of melodrama, of epic adventures, right? Of comedy. Shakespeare was so good that his stories have become immortal. And if you think about it, the things that Shakespeare wrote way back in the day are still themes that are very relevant today. And we can learn from others throughout history. There's Homer, there's Sophocles, there's Mark Twain, there's Dickens. Think about Dickens. Dickens said it was, from the very beginning, Dickens said it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Grabbed you right from the very beginning. Now, one could argue that your story is a story that's been conveyed over the last thousands of years, right? Come to my company, buy my product. That is the story, it just depends on how you tell it. Now, I'm not saying we're all Shakespeare. Clearly, the way I told that joke, I'm not Shakespeare, right? But I'm saying we need to try and learn from the greats of history, because you can learn a lot of things. Now, great storytellers know how to use language that resonates with us, right? They know how to use humor and syntax and phrasing. And phrasing in a storytelling messaging is very important in storytelling. And there's many great phrases that we can learn throughout history, right? To be or not to be. If I am not for myself, who will be for me, right? Hello. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, right? Phrasing. And what phrasing, ask yourself, are you using when you're telling your story that's memorable and what sticks out? What language has the most impact for your story? Now, you also see here that storytelling can be used to define the worst in the world. A lot of prejudice is involved in storytelling. We know that Hitler was a masterful storyteller, right? We all know the story of Osama bin Laden. Now, let's move on. Everybody knows who this is. Many people believe Steve Jobs was the master modern-day storyteller as a businessman. I personally also think he was. Now, I want to show you this clip. It's about 3 minutes. I'm sure all of you have seen this clip before. But I want to show it to you because I think it demonstrates brilliantly storytelling.
This is a day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years. Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. And Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate if you get to work on just one of these in your career. Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh. It didn't just change Apple, it changed the whole computer industry. In 2001, we introduced the first iPod. And it didn't just change the way we all listen to music. It changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things. A widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
Cool, right? Master. Now, what did Steve Jobs know? Steve Jobs understood that there's an architecture to storytelling. That storytelling is like a beautiful dance between the storyteller and the listener. And so what can we learn from Steve Jobs? We can learn from the way that he used images. Did you see the way he moved about across the stage? The images he used? Even the way Steve Jobs started that clip by saying, "I've been waiting for 2 years for this moment." Is that not straight out of Dickens? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It grabbed you right from the beginning. It was masterfully put together, and we can learn things from this. What do we learn? We learn that your presentations need to be choreographed. They need to be thought through. We can learn that giving a presentation about your business needs to have rhythm. It needs to be practiced. An important theme to pay attention to, you as entrepreneurs are choreographing and shaping the tone of your story. Now, like I said, I like this slide because the listener also plays an important part in the storytelling process, right? You want your listener to be actively engaged. You need to be telling a story that resonates with that listener, so that listener can go and virally spread the nature of your story. Now, let's move on here. We've established that it's imperative to recognize the importance of storytelling for businesses and for you as entrepreneurs. But today's stories are best spun into a web of stories, right? And told on a consistent basis. Today's stories need to be strategic and intelligent and aligned to your audience. Today, we tell stories both aloud and digitally. And digital storytelling changes everything. Now, this is Thomas Carlyle right here. He's a Scottish philosopher. Thomas Carlyle once said, "The history of the world is but a biography of great men." Right? The history of the world is but a biography of great men. You see, Thomas Carlyle believed that it was the few and the powerful who shape our collective destiny as a species. Yet we only need to look back over the last 10 years to know that a new story has emerged. And it isn't a story about the few and the powerful. It's a story about you. And it's a story about me and entrepreneurs and small business and big business. And it's about using resources such as Facebook and YouTube and Wikipedia. It's about people, all walks of people from all walks of life, literally wrestling that power away from the few always online. Thanks to digital storytelling, every entrepreneur, small business, or corporate enterprise now has a chance to be out there. Now, we all know the internet made this happen, and we know that social applications allow us to do this, right? Blogs, podcasts, YouTube, everything I already talked about. It's all about users communicating with each other, businesses communicating with their audience, and generating their own content. Right? Digital storytelling is very powerful. And from a business point of view, we are so ready for this, right? We're ready to balance, our diet of pre-digested news that somebody else writes for us with news that we write and is generated by us to the world, right? Today we're looking at an explosion of productivity and innovation and communication, and it's literally just getting started. You guys know this, right? Millions of entrepreneurial minds are being fostered back into this global, entrepreneurial, intellectual economy, right? And we need to take advantage of it. Today, there's an opportunity for you as businesses to generally go out and find that person who's looking back at you at the computer screen and target them, and probably most importantly, figure out if they have any money to spend, right, for you. The world has changed, people have changed too, everyone's more digitally connected, and entrepreneurs need to know how to create a story and sell it. So the last part of this is, so what's your story? Right? You have 90 seconds to get up in front of a lot of people and tell your story, right? I'm going to go through some tips and techniques that I think can help you as you are telling your own story. So the first thing I always say is, you need to plan on paper first what you're going to say. If you try and get up there and give 90 seconds just off a whim, you're not doing yourself justice. But if you plan it on paper, you can kind of create an outline, you can move things around and see what resonates. This is especially important if English isn't your first language, right? And you need to really capture the minds and hearts of the people that you're talking to. Now, I think that 5 ingredients make up a compelling corporate presentation and can make up a compelling presentation for you guys over 90 seconds, right? The first one is keep it simple, right? You only have 90 seconds. If you try and get too complex, if you try and throw in ones and zeros, if you try and talk about how you're saving the world, by the time you blink, it's going to be over. So simplicity in 90 seconds is your friend. The truth is, a 90-second pitch, it's hype at its best, right? The next is you want to be authentic. People are tired of smoke. They want honesty today. And authenticity is an important reflection of your brand, and it starts with you giving the presentation about your company. The next is you want to be relevant, right? The audience you're speaking to, who are you speaking to on Wednesday night, right? I want to give a consumer pitch if you're pitching to VCs, right? So you want to think in terms of relevancy. I say transformation. What is transformation? It's you have from second 1 to second 89 to take people on a journey to get them to go, shit, that's a good idea, or I like that company, or I like that guy or a woman, right? And then the last one, of course, in the bowl is passion. Right? I mean, passion as an entrepreneur, as your friend. Now, I think Israelis, you guys have no shortage of passion. You're all passion. Now, sell it when you're standing up there. Now, here's a framework for how you could approach this. But this is just a framework, right, that I've created. It's not set in stone. You can change it around. You can move it if you want. But in 90 seconds, I'm thinking you want to introduce your company. You want to explain your opportunity. You want to highlight your service or your platform, right? You want to reiterate your main points. Why? Because brands are created based on repetition. And you always want to close with a call to action. And again, this is just my best thinking on how you can create 90 seconds. You have to do it yourself, but if you write it down on paper and you think, how am I going to be strategic about it, here's a potential framework for it. I added this slide actually because you need to be careful how you use numbers. You always want to place numbers in context, and you never want to overuse them, right? If you're going to show a PowerPoint when you give your 90-second pitch, or you give any pitch, to be honest with you, and you put it in an Excel sheet that's just full of lots of numbers, you're not doing yourself justice, right? And a pitch like this that's just all about hype, I mean, the truth is, if a VC really wants to understand your numbers, or somebody really wants to understand your numbers, they're going to do a much deeper dive into your business. But a presentation like the one you're going to give is purely designed to get them to that point, right? So be careful how you use numbers. So what am I saying? I'm saying sell the vision first and the product second. Sell your story first and your product second. And when you're coming up with these things, you always want to try and answer questions. Now again, I'm not saying you have to answer all these questions or you don't in your pitch, but a good entrepreneur who has his mind on the US market and the New York market certainly has thought through all of these questions, right? And has thought how they can answer these questions and integrate those answers back into your story, right? What's your business? How do you get customers? Current stage of the technology? How long to implementation? I can do this all day. What problem are you solving? What are your next steps? What are your acquisition costs? What are you raising money to achieve? Who's on your team, right? Now again, it's not that you need to speak to all of these, especially in 90 seconds, but you need to come to, this market, Silicon Valley, prepared with the answers, not just wing it off the cuff. The best entrepreneurs come prepared. They think through these things. They hire a PR firm that specializes in this, right? And together, you go out and you make great things happen. Last point here. Remember, at the very end of the day, when you give these presentations, investors invest in people first. Before they're going to invest in your product, they have to like you. And you need to be prepared to sell yourself. Storytelling takes time, it takes energy, it takes practice. The communications part of your business, we believe now, I run a PR firm, so it's in my interest to believe this, right? That it's a critical component to how you're going to advance your business, right? But you're all entrepreneurs. You were all picked here to come to this for a reason. And so my advice for you is be strategic in your thinking. Be strategic in how you're going to tell your story. Think through the answers. Practice your pitch. Know your target audience. And at the end of the day, go out and get it done. Questions? Perfect. No questions.
So what is your firm specifically do? In what areas do you specialize in? What does?
So we specialize in we do public relations campaigns, right? Technology companies. Within the technology realm, we do apps, we do digital advertising, right? We do corporate communications. It really just depends. So Indicate Media is an early stage company. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I launched Indicate Media two years ago in July. And so we're at a point now where we evaluate the potential customers, decide if we like the story, we like the entrepreneur, and then we figure out how we want to, take it forward.
Actually, can I have a follow-up question about that? Regarding PR, my company's talked to a PR firm that's in the fashion space, because we're in the fashion space. And we're always debating whether to go with them or not. They have a great name. But the problem is, and we've understood this with all PR firms, for us at least, is that we don't have a lot of money. As a startup, every dollar we spend, we want to make sure we're getting $2 back. It's all about ROI. And specifically with PR firms, it's not a CPC, it's not a CPM type of thing. And so we said, well, how many people are going to, see our article, or how many people, how is this going to?
Will you even get us an article?
What?
Will you even get us an article?
Will you even get us an article? Like, everything is, there's no guarantees. There are no guarantees, and I'm interested to hear from your end, how to look at it, how you think it should be looked at, and do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I do. So that's the age-old question, right? Like, if I could promise you media placements, like, listen, this would be an easy gig, right? But the fact is, you can't control what other people may or may not write. And what we've seen over the last couple of years, mostly over the last couple of years, more than any time in history, is getting that Wall Street Journal article doesn't necessarily equate to, a rise to the top. And if you even guarantee getting that Wall Street Journal article. And so you need to think about communications from an integrated perspective, right? PR and branding, being in the media is very important, but that's not the only thing your PR team does, right? They're gonna help you with the messaging, they're gonna help you with the writing, which is very important if it's a second language, right? And they're gonna help you place bylines. So today it is about creating a lot of content and pushing it out there. And I actually think Harrison said it best with the question in the back. It's not, you can't look at PR as in, what have they done over the course of the last 2 weeks? You have to look at it from a little bit more of a top-down view. And over the course of 3 months, for that payment, did they bring me strategic insight? Did they write things very well? Did they get us press? Did they help us with the social media? Right? And that's kind of where we're at in a PR world today. Now, in the future, there will be better ways to incorporate the data of our work into the process. But, and maybe some of you are smart enough to figure out how to write that algorithm, right? And if you are, let's talk. But it's not there yet. But you need to ask, but from a fashion perspective, are you a fashion company? Are you a technology company, right? And when you talk to these fashion PR people, are they up here in the minds of the fashion world, which might be good for you, I mean, I don't know about your company, or are they really able to understand that you have a business model and there's other things at work here, right? And can they help you push the business model forward, and the fashion is just a piece of that? Because if it's 22 or 23-year-olds who are just focused on fashion, right, you already know your answer.
Yep. And this is an odd question.
Yeah.
We participate in Accelerator prior to start. What we do roommates, by the way. And we've been through a few events where we had to teach for 2 or 3 or 5 minutes what we do. And every time we had a very fast speech, when I finished the speech, even if I did it the best I could, and I do it pretty well, I felt like it was too fast. I felt like the people that were listening to me, although they came to listen to me, they didn't catch what it was supposed to be. Now that was 4 and 5 minute speeches. This is a 90-second speech. Now I'm not saying this out of being lazy, because we work all the time with what we do.
Clearly.
But I suggested to the guys, Sri and Justin, we have a 90-second video, and we thought, we have a nice video, why shouldn't we just put our video in? Then everybody told me, this is a mistake, you gotta teach so they see you so you talk. But then again, the conflict of the 90-second and what can you actually gain in 90-second speeches is a little disturbing.
Yeah. Well, you can do a lot in 90 seconds, right? I mean, for sure. But it's all about the story you're trying to tell, right? And so, if you're finding in a 4 and 5 minute pitch, you're still not getting it, and it's not that you didn't practice, right? But
I mean, we know where we already raised money, we already did some stuff. It's not like we just teach it out of nothing.
Sure. Yeah. But storytelling is an art, right? And there's things we can do to help perfect that story, to play up things in the beginning, to move points to the end.
So on a 90-second art deal, what do you recommend would be the most important thing to do?
Sell your vision.
Hire a consultant.
Sell your vision. Yeah. All right. So, no, you want to sell your vision because you can't get into the nitty-gritty of your product, right? It's just never going to work. So you could say, and I'm just talking off the top of my head because I don't really know about your business, but our name of our company is X. What we do is Y. Now, why is there a need in the market for this? We have done a lot of diligence and we have found out that blah, blah, blah. And so we're able to take our product and we're able to execute it and bring value to X, Y, Z, right? It's like to get to a point where in 90 seconds, you have some fluid, some validity.
Even if you make sense and you say exactly that, between 90 seconds of 10 different companies, it feels like it kind of gets lost somewhere. Would you say there's any push, that there's any, you started here by saying, you should do something out of Deacons, or I've been waiting for this moment. Would you say the most important part is to emphasize your vision, or maybe something that's a little bit disturbing to catch the audience.
Yeah, but the two could be mutually exclusive, right? I don't know that it's one versus the other, right? It's finding that balance. I mean, listen, if there was an equation that I could give you that would help you, it would make your job easy, right? But I wouldn't psych myself out by saying it's very hard in 90 seconds. It's like, you all are very, very smart people. It's, I've got 90 seconds, I've got the best minds around me. What do we do? How do we make it happen? And that's an abstract answer, I got it, right? But this is what communication is. It's figuring out the equation. How can we execute in 90 seconds? That's my best answer. But don't psych yourself out either. I mean, go in there, you got this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, guys. And also, Harris.